Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
We're looking at the new wedge line from Mizuno, and I just found out that your forging process, like a wood, has grain in it. Explain that.
Yes, we're considered the premier forging company in the world. We have exclusive rights to the Chuo plant in Japan. They make all the precision parts for Ford and Lexus and Toyota. And in fact, they've been making samurai swords all the way back to the 1900s.
Wow.
But the process is very unique. What we do is we take a 1025 E Pure Select billet, and it goes through a chemical and an X-ray process, so we find the ones with the tightest and the best grain. Very similar to a persimmon wood. The tighter the grain, and if the grain goes in one direction, then you give the softness and uniform hardness throughout the entire face.
Wow.
So it goes through a rolling and a stretching process in the forging, and so basically the grain goes up and down the hosel in parallel to the toe and the heel. So the advantage to that is you have equal hardness throughout the face.
That's amazing.
And so the consistency as far as hitting your distance is much improved, where not all your forgings, a lot of them have random grain where they go all different ways. And casting, of course, has pits and voids and goes all different ways. So, you know, as far as forging goes, what's more important is in a wedge.
Sure.
And
tell us about the two new wedges.
Okay. The MPT-11 we introduced last year, and this is a teardrop shaped design. It also has what we call a C-grind sole. This is the wedges Luke Donald's using.
Must be good.
Considered the #1 short game player in the world.
Yeah.
Also, we do something different that no other company does, is with the conforming groove issue right now, on our 50 degree through our 54, we actually use a narrower but a deeper groove, because on full shots you get much more spin.
Right.
On the 56 through the 64, we use a wider and a shallower groove because you get more spin on partial shots. So we're basically the only company using grooves for loft-specific advantages.
That's getting down to the gnat's hair.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And then we also use the dynamic gold spinner shaft. We're the only ones to use this standard in our wedges. We co-developed this with True Temper and had an exclusivity for about 8 or 9 months. What it does is this configuration below the grip acts like a hinge effect, and it basically gives a forward bending of the club at impact. So instead of the ball rolling all the way up the club face and losing all its spin, it actually traps the ball and keeps it lower and retains its spin. And most people average 250 RPMs of extra backspin, but we've had people measure 50 to almost 100 extra RPMs of backspin.
Wow.
So much so, Luke Donald was using, he uses it still in his 60. He had it in his 54 and had to re-shaft it back to his tour issue shaft because he was spinning it too much.
Wow.
A new model this year is the MPR wedge. The MPR has more of a round shaped head, as you can see, and this also has a different grind on it. It's more of an M grind. We left a little bit more bounce in the heel so it's easier to hit out of bunkers, and we ground a little bit more off the toe. It's also a little larger head, and it has a much more blunt leading edge right here. So it's harder to dig, basically.
Yeah.
So it's about 50-50, maybe 60-40 teardrop over round shape head on tour. But we have a loft, a bounce, a finish for every level of golfer out there.
It's amazing when you take a long look at something as simple as a wedge, that everything, all the design elements that go into it.
Right.
There's a lot of work being done there. Going to improve your short game.